Well, hailey ho everyone. Part 2, all about the textures of getting a car from Blender into Trackmania 2 stroke Canyon stroke Valley. Before I actually get into the textures, I just wanted to do a quick recap of video 1, and I do mean quick. As you may have gathered already, the thing that's going to take the most time with all of this process is laying out your UV maps, doing your texturing, setting your textures up. The process of actually getting the car ready to sort of be pulled into Trackmania is literally a couple of minutes, and I do mean a couple of minutes. I'm about to do it. As I say, most of it is unwrapping, getting your seams right, baking your textures, painting your textures, converting your textures to DDS. In terms of geometry, well, here we have a car. The original car with all 4 wheels still connected. So we go in and we select the body. Select my body panels, which I want to be part of my skin. Separate the selection. Go into local mode so I can see what I'm doing. Then I'm going to select the tyres and the wheel rims. Go into wireframe mode. I'm going to Control Shift. Delete all those vertices. Actually, no, what I want to do is I want to select them all. I don't want to delete, I want to deselect these and delete those vertices. And the reason I wanted to deselect these is because I use symmetrize and it goes left that side to that side. So there you are. That's the simple reason. Any wheel really in terms of the UV mapping would have sufficed. So we do an A, select all, and there's my UV map, which I prepared earlier, as it were. So, and go back in, and even this is taking longer because I'd just backtrack there. So P select, we select the wheel rim, select the tyre, P select, go back into object mode, select that. Control Shift X, so it duplicates it. Select that, Shift DY, push that back there. Select those, Control J to join, Alt C to get rid of the mirror modifier. 7, Z6, Tab 8, B, P selection, B, P selection, B, P selection, Tab 8, Z2. Change that as medium point. Make sure that my skin is at the origin. Glass at the origin. Details at the origin. Okay. Shift S9 for the Shift S9. Origin to geometry. Origin to geometry. Origin to geometry, Alt H and hide everything. Done. That's it. That's basically the gubbins of getting your car ready, apart from the texturing. So there's your quick recap. I told you it'd be quick. Okay. So here we have our car with the 1 wheel. Because we're just going to do the texturing now, so that's all we need to worry about. So we've got the skin. No, actually that's the details. So we've got the details. Right. And what we want to do basically is we want to paint onto that UV map in onto that image for the details. So numerous ways to go about this. And that is, actually I'm gonna separate these as well while I'm at it, because as I say, I've got my UV map now, so right, just in and out of local mode there. Okay, so we want to paint this. Now we got numerous ways of doing this. You can simply sort of select it, go in here, and you can go into paint mode, change my brush size, T to pull up my brush options, and I can have a nice pale yellow there. Set this so it's texture so I can see what I'm up to, and you'd start painting, or at least you would if you had the appropriate image. That's okay. Thank you. There we are. So if I make that green so we can see what's going on. Except we can't see what's going on for one simple reason, that the object as it stands has got all its previous text, all its previous materials, and if we're going to be doing this, for us to see everything, we really just want one material for everything. So what we'll do is we'll come out of edit mode and we will trash everything. We will add a new one. We will call that D body. I go into there, select that, Control T, assuming you have Node Wrangler active, and we're going to set that to that image. I'll go back into edit mode. Do a Shift F10 up there, so we're back in there. And as you can see now, we can actually see any changes we make. So I'll just paint that back out. Just basically go in there, getting the eyedropper, getting the original colour, just so I can paint that back out. And I'll whack my strength up to 1, because I use stencils an awful lot, so I don't tend to worry about fading out unless I'm tweaking the stencils by adding a bit over them, which I can show you a bit later. So let's get into stencils, seeing as I'll keep whittering on about them. So texture. New texture. I shall call this me stencil. I shall go over here to the texture button. I shall select brush me stencil. Open up. Go find myself a suitable texture. I happen to know I have a square headlight. Now change that from tiled to stencil in the mode, and I shall just pull this down. And right mouse button to drag that across. I'll hit image aspect so it gets its correct size. Then you can, you can use the shift right mouse button to scale. Now sometimes that ends up scaling on one axis when I do that. Oh, like that, for example. And now you see I did up and down then, and it scales on both. So I've no idea why it suddenly decides that I'm scaling on one axis instead of both, but if in doubt, re-hit image aspect. Again, see that's doing it again. So That's using the shift right mouse button. Just right mouse button by itself, you move the stencil around. Control right mouse button alters the angle of the stencil. So do that. And rather than scaling the stencil in this case, you can use the middle mouse button with control and zoom in and out on the image. Middle mouse button to just move the image. So then I can use the right mouse button and shift to expand the stencil. And then basically all I do, check what paint mode I'm in, which is space. Pick a colour. I normally go, you could maybe go a slightly, and then just paint that in over the top. Now if you want to see what you've done and what you've not done, do not move the stencil, just simply take your cursor over into one of the bars on the left or the right or the bottom, basically out of this window, and you can see what you've done and what you've not done. So to be honest there, I'm going to ramp up the size of my brush so I can paint in quicker. Here we go. And Robert is your father's brother. As you can see, that's slightly yellow. If I don't want it yellow, I can just take it out back to pure white and just paint it back in. So you can tint what you're painting based on the colour of the texture, and that's nice. Now you can either then add a new one, go through the same process, or what you can do is you can just reuse the same one. So I'm going to go there now, and I'm going to actually, let's see, I'm going to choose that one. I'm going to image aspect. I'm going to reset the transform. Shift mouse button, right mouse button to move it. Middle mouse button for this. Middle mouse button control to zoom in. Right mouse button to move it. Right mouse shift to scale. And right mouse button control to rotate. And I'm going to call that good, and I'm going to paint that in. Going to drop my brush size down a teeny bit. Here we go. Now if you're having trouble seeing through this, go over to your options, overlay, and here you've got just how opaque that texture is. Take it up to 100. I can't see nothing because it's fully opaque. Take it down to around 16 and it becomes a bit more obvious where you haven't painted. So play around with that one, go back to tools for where your colours are, and we're happy with that. And if you sort of go boof like this and you've gone too far, that's not a problem. Get rid of the texture, change your blend mode to erase alpha, and just paint back. Right, and if you've painted too far, then you can either undo, or if you've painted a lot, just choose add alpha and then just paint back in where you need. Thus, don't forget to change it back to mix. Now you click on there and you can reselect your texture. So I say okay, I've done that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have me an indicator, and for the indicator I'm just going to use a really basic one. So I'm going to choose that. I'm going to go reset the transform, go image aspect, right mouse button, middle mouse button, middle control, middle control, middle control, middle control, and then quick boom. There's my indicators. So that's that. And dump. So there's my indicators and my headlights that quick. And if I just go back and we're in face mode, so I select one of them, zoom in, you can see that I've got my things there. Now that might not be ideal, and so what you can then decide to do instead, is not move the actual object. So we go up, we zoom in so we can see that. There we go. We zoom in, and I'm just using, it's interesting, I'm using the keys here, but all it's reflecting is that I'm using the middle mouse button. I'm actually holding the shift, and then just using the control, then the shift to move around, and it's not reflecting that. What I can do is I can go into texture paint mode here, but what I'll do first, before I do that, is I'll select those, and I'll select those, and I'll hide everything else. I then go into texture paint mode, and I click this button here, and then that's all I'm seeing. So now I can go down, texture, click on my texture, my stencil, swap that back for the headlight, for the tail light I was using. Hit that one, okie dokie, and do image aspect. That won't do. So control 1 on. Oh no, mark that up. Edit mode 1. Control 1. There we go. I go into texture paint. Which way around is it? That's the one I want. So edit mode, I'm going to focus in on that one. And right, now I can go into texture paint, image aspect, drag that along, scale it out like that, and say I'm going to have that, and then just increase my brush size and paint like that. And then I'm going to move, and I'm going to move across, so like that. I can line it up. I'm going to make sure that's red first, just touch that up. Right, now I want these to be red, so I'll get that bit in. There we are. Oh, doing it again. Don't do that, Colin. Shift that along. There we go. Oh. Pay attention, boy. There we go. So I can then go back into edit mode, do an Alt H, and there you can see they look a bit better because they're more straight. So again, I was basically using polygon masking there to just paint a certain section. So like for example, I decide I want to do the dash, but I only want the dash, so I want to use those two. I want to hide everything else. Now I'll zoom in, and again I can go into texture paint mode, and I'm going to swap that out, and I'll choose some sort of dash now. So let that one, that's pretty basic. Reset my image aspect, shift right mouse button, shift right mouse, please yourself. There we go. There we are. Stick that a bit smaller, a bit that there, paint that in. quick and dirty. At the end of the day, you know, you're not going to see this very clearly. So now, as you can see, even though if I drag that out, that's very clear, you can see here it isn't. And there's a very simple reason for that. It's basically down to how many pixels it's occupying in the image map. So if you look at this here, you can see how jagged those are, so you can get an idea from how jagged that is just how many pixels you're playing with. So obviously if you're going for super fine detail here, you have to ramp up the size of your image map you're doing your painting to. I mean, this is 2K, so you would have to go up to a 4K for this, excuse me, this level of detail. But again, you're not seeing it close up, that sort of distance. It looks like a dashboard, so meh. So once again, out of that, into edit mode, Alt H, and you can just go through that whole process, painting it like that, using selection masking. Alternatively, you can come into here and paint it in here again. So we go here, and I'm going to choose bump. Where are we? That. Choose image aspect. Move that along, and I'm just going to paint this in. I'll ramp that brush size down with F key. Then do a control, rotate to, I don't know, something like that. Right mouse button to move it. That's about right. It's roughly the right angle, so paint that in. Move that down, control right mouse button. Again, roughly right mouse button. You're getting the idea, basically. You're just doing painting like that. So if I zoom out there, you see that now is getting the reset the transform image aspect, and just cover that in. So again, in a situation like this where you're doing this and then you accidentally, whoa, again, just go get rid of the texture, change that to erase alpha, clear that off, back to mix, reselect your texture. So for example, comes to tires, right, and tires I have under, do I have it under there? I do, wheels diffuse. So image aspect, reset transform image aspect, rotate that by 90, zoom in, I'm going to whack that up to about 30 so I can see it a bit better, maybe actually 34. Zoom in, I just want to control little mouse button, getting it where I want. Okie dokie. Tools. Now I don't want this bright white, so I'll just dull it down a bit. That'll do. Paint this out. And middle mouse button, move along. And what I'll do now is I'll try to line up like that. So middle mouse button along, thus, go the other way. That works for me. So that's my tyre sorted. Done. Okay, and what I can do here, if I really want to be fussy about it, I can change my brush size and I can just blend that in a bit using the smear around the edges. Just blend that in a teeny bit. I'll rank my strength up to about 0.5 on the blend. There we go, just tidying it up a little. So here we are, that'll do. Okay, back to texture draw, and we're happy. And so then I want to things like the exhaust here. I'll make that chrome. So I'll go to a texture I happen to know looks chromy, image aspect. Make that 0. Zoom in. Roll in the middle mouse button there, as opposed to clicking it and using control. I'm using control now just to narrow it, and again up with the brush and fill. Drag that across, brush down. Right, now I also happen to know this lot down here are chrome, so set that to 90. Oh, 90, not 0.2. Zoom in, shift right mouse button. Yeah, we'll need to quit doing that. There we go. I'll do that. And that, and then I shall zoom in a bit more. Move that a bit. Works for me. Paint this in. Move it up. Paint it in. Move it up. Paint it in, etc., 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 etc. I do. So do that. You basically do that for the rest of it as well. So yeah. And I'm being a bit quick and dirty. 1, because I'm just showing the process more than out, and 2, because with this, so long as it looks roughly like that, it's good enough. And again, if it's blemished, which it is, then what I'll do, hide that, go up, smear. So things like that there, smooth it out. Any obvious things, smooth them out. There we are. Smooth, smooth, smooth. So that's that done. Basically you can go through the whole procedure then for each section, like the interior here. We'll select that, me stencil, and I'll go into car carpet. Again, change that to stencil, image aspect, and let's move that. And this is a grey carpet, so change. This is what I've done wrong. Keep doing this. Forget I'm in smear and activate a texture for the smear. I need to go to my texture drawer. There we go. Now image aspect and image transform. There we go. So this at the moment, white. Just painting it like that. I could give it maybe a slightly blue texture. And that gives you a bluer carpet. So you could give it a nice dark blue carpet. Yeah, well, maybe a slightly more. So we're going to use that. And again, you see I'm going over the bounds here, but I'm doing it quick and dirty. Sometimes in situations like this, I'll line up the stencil roughly with the edges of polygons, so basically I can afford to be quick and dirty then, because it won't go over those edges. So you can sometimes use that to speed things up when you're painting, to avoid any desire to be accurate when you're using a seamless map. And sometimes you do have to be accurate, but not always. So again, there, just line that up with the corner there, and I can afford to be a bit sloppy. And zoom that in a bit, finish that off. And again, close the texture, change that to erase alpha, and just tidy up in here a bit for my own personal preferences, just so it doesn't get too sloppy. There's probably no real need to do this, but you know, what can I tell you? So say this is your door, and you can always test what this is by sort of choosing it. So go back to mix, and let's put a really obvious colour in red. Let's have a look, and you can say, okay, that's your door. Again, alternatively, what you can do is something like that, is you can say, okay, well, let's go into face select mode, and let's select the polygons which are the door, and select them which are the door, hide everything else. Go into texture paint mode, go into 3, zoom in, so we'll put that back to sort of a grey, click me stencil, and let's just pick a door trim, and let's have that one. Again, image aspect, make sure it's the right size. Oh, 3. And shift right mouse button to scale it. Now I think this is the front, so I'm going to do a Control 3 and paint it from that side. In fact, there's one way of telling which is the front, isn't there? And the answer is that is the back. So 3, that's the back. Fair enough. So move that up, something of that ilk, and increase the brush. We'll just roughly paint it on. As you can see, it's painting the one but not the other. So it's only painting the side you can see. It's not painting both sides. So while it looks like it's not painting when you do it from there, and I've moved that now, that was a mistake, wasn't it? Oh well. So if I paint all across this, that's doing that side. It's not doing the side you think it is. If I zoom out, you can see it's painting that one. So I then just move that along. And then move it along here. Right, so move that back. And now I do Control 3. And I'm going to change this to -1, so the image is inverted. Drag that across, line it up, and paint. As you can see now, I'm actually painting on the other side. So, just to be aware of. Just because it doesn't look like you're not painting, you are actually painting. Right, so I can go into edit mode then. Do an Alt-H. There's the door. It is actually the wrong way around. I did get it the wrong way around, but hey hoo. Whatever. So what I can do then is I can choose to select these. Here. Shift hide. One. And I'm going to change that to carpet 3. Go back to interior. And reset that image aspect. Just going to try something. Yeah. So it only works in texture paint mode in here. So I do Control 1. Here we go. I do 3. I do Control 3. And I'm going to tidy that up in here. There we go. And back into edit mode. Alt-H, A8. And so you can see basically you just carry on with that process bit by bit, setting out all your textures. And then don't forget, of course, to save this once you've done all of that work. And if I go back into object mode and I go into texture mode, at the moment you can't see anything for the simple reason I need to assign the wheels to have the debody texture. So again, delete everything. Debody. Boop. There we go. So I zoom in there, you can see the tyre, and what I've not done, I've realised, I mean, it's only an example this, but it still irks me. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to go to my texture. I'm going to get my chrome material. I'm going to reset my image aspect. Right, and I am going to put chrome on my wheels. I know that's my wheels just by the shape of it, so there we go. We're going to get some chrome on there. So it's not all black. And there we go. That's better. So there's that. Right, there's one other thing I want to show you, which is I will use the skin for this. That is, when we're working on this, so you can paint in here, so I can go into texture paint mode. Yeah, basically what that's telling me there is I can't use texture paint on the skin for the simple reason is my material for this skin isn't right. Again, I'll get rid of all of this and I'll create a new one. And I'm going to go S body, Control T, and that is going to be my skin. So okie dokie. Now I can go into texture paint mode, do a Shift F10 there so I'm in things. I'm gonna open the skin org. So here's my basic skin. I happen to know they're my rear body panels, they're my front body panels, and of course obviously the rest. So S body, do Shift F3 and I change that to skin org. There we go. Shift F10. Okay, so here I can get rid of my texture, and I might want to do a line in this case. So what I can do, I can change my stroke from a space to a line, change my size down to about that, and we'll have a nice bright yellow line. So I want it on the other side as well, so what we'll do is we'll go to symmetry, we'll say on the X please. So click, drag, release. And as you can see here, with this unwrap being curved, I couldn't just draw a straight line there because it would end up coming out curved on here. So if I draw a straight line there, that's no good. So you can do it here in orthographic view. Then what you can also do is I can zoom in, draw another line, and because I've zoomed in, actually I want that bit further down, a bit further up, then the line is smaller. Could maybe zoom in if I up arrow, zoom in a bit further, and maybe also reduce my that thing, and you should be able to get another even smaller line there. So there you've got a nice detailed line, and it's reflected beautifully on there. So you can paint on there directly, or as we did previously, I can choose my stencil, go here, and I'll choose my carbon fiber large and zoom in, reset transform, drag that across, zoom in, F bump. I want pure white, but I want a slightly darker one. I don't want pure clear. I need to change my paint mode from line to space. And as you notice, because I'm not in the 3D view, there is no option to do symmetrize here. You're just painting directly on the map, so it wouldn't know what would qualify as symmetry, because it depends how you set your map up. So how we, yeah. Okay, we'll swap that over then. I'm going to swap that for a grill. Go into my vehicle textures. Should have a grill somewhere. You'll do. Zoom out. go over, go in, and we'll shift. This is the front one, so basically I'm making a grill. There we are, see? So that's that done. Right. That's why the image reset, the image aspect doesn't work. Yeah, that was at -1 because I'd flipped the texture before, and I found if that's at -1, it's no good clicking the reset the image aspect. It just doesn't know what it's doing, so it just plain doesn't do it. Alright, what I'm going to do now is add a new texture, and I'm going to call this decal. And the reason I'm not reusing the same one this time is I'm going to do something different with it. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to open my Falcon, and I'm going to change it to stencil, image aspect, reset transform. I'm going to 7, zoom in, boom, boom. Right mouse button to move it, right shift to scale it. Oh, 7. Right rotate to get it how I want. Right. Now then, I just want to, just bear with me a second. Right. Okay, so I've got this image, and I want to paint on it. Oh, guess who's still got symmetry on? Oh, there we go. And I'm painting, and I'm painting, but it's black. I don't want black, I want white. Why isn't it doing white? The answer to that is simple, is the actual stencil itself is black rather than white. And so rather than having to actually go out, take the image in an image program, invert it so it's white, I found out the other day, if you go here, choose texture, go there, choose brush, use nodes, delete that, add input image, choose your Falcon, connect that, you get exactly the same thing, but add a node, invert, boom. Now, white, or green, or red, or of course, yellow. So, boom, 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 boom. And that's the basic difference. I mean, you can then go, well, I'm presuming you can. I bet you could probably do things like add noise textures and that into the image while you use it as a decal. Something I do tend to do, if I mute that and I paint that back black, this is a handy little thing, unmute it, go in here, and then just right mouse button and ever so slightly move that, then paint it, and you get that sort of effect, which looks pretty cool. So there you can paint that, and again 7, I can then change that, but I don't change it there now, notice it's gone, I'll change it here. So I click in there, have a choose, be dum 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 da 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 da. We'll have that 1. And we come down here to our texture so we can see what we're doing. Reset the transform, move it along, shift in, move it down. In this instance I'm just going to go with a straight white, Boom, 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 boom. Again. I'm going to choose... Now with this one, I actually want the original colours, so again, go over there and just hit mute. Come up. And reset transform. And here I'd probably just use right mouse button, shift, Y, just to get the sort of angle I want. Let go, right mouse button, shift, to position it. Get it there. Wang, dong, 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 dong. Control 1, go in the back. Zoom in. Change that. Unmute that again, move it up. We'll have that nice pale shade of yellow, why not? Zoom in. Alright, get rid of the texture. 3. Zoom in. Minimize that. Stick my symmetry on. Pure white. Increase the size of my brush. Shift F to increase the opacity. Actually, I'll change my brush stroke there. Let's have boom, like that. Try that. That's better. Alright. Now I need to turn the symmetry off for this because I'm now actually going to use a stencil. But I'm going to use a number. So I'll go in here, choose decal, go up, and I'll have a number 8, please, Bob. Now you could either just take that off there, or I'm just going to mute it, drag it along, reset transform, shift scale, move it on. I mean, technically, because it's an 8, actually, you could get away with the symmetry on, so there we go. Take the symmetry off. And there we are. And so basically you can carry on doing stuff like that to set up your textures in terms of doing texture paint. And now we can get rid of the decal. Again, go back to align. Do a red. Zoom in here. In fact, I'm going to up arrow and use the whole screen estate for this. And you know what? No, I'm actually going to use this one so I can do it with symmetry on and save me worrying about whether I've got the right thing. So, boom. Yeah, works for me. So there you are. That's basically how you do all of your your texture painting within within Blender. Wait a minute, I'm not having that. I'd done that. Where's my Chrome? Thank you very much. That's better, thank you. So, I'll say basically that's your whole process of just going through and texturing it. And just for the sake of completion, I'll tell you what, let's select that. Right, there we go. And that's the whole process of texturing it within Blender. And as I say, do not forget to save your changed images, which would you be using then outside of Blender to actually create your DDS files. And that's going to be the very next tutorial. Once I have, yes, you've guessed it, gone and got a cup of coffee. Talk to you later.